sitting here talking to her, I said, I got to do a podcast. I got to get a broadcast deck. There's so much I want to talk about. I can't go, I can only go off the grid for a few days before I start getting batty because I got to talk to you. I got to tell you some stuff. All right, I got nobody watching right now. That's not a good sign. The United States still exists, doesn't it? Oh, I got one person. All right, I know the United States is there. Huh? No, no, no. I'm not testing it. Can you guys hear me? Kim Hobson's watching. Kim, you're keeping me sane right now. I feel like an astronaut. I'm out there in space floating around. I got one person. And there's Deborah Sanchez. All right, I'm going to assume other people can hear me. Can you hear me? Is it lip syncing? Because I just did a whole broadcast. I sound like I was in an echo chamber. So you just froze. Well, at least John Yamon, she says I'm here. Okay. All right. I want to cover something now. You saw this latest crazy story about Trump security. This is what makes people think that they're out to get him. You would think that they would be doubling up on making sure they don't do stupid stuff now that they know that there's assassination attempts. Not just the one that was attempted in Butler, Pennsylvania, but they now have come out and explained that they actually arrested a guy named Asif Merchant from Pakistan who was working with Iran to get into the United States through the open borders of Kamala Harris and Biden in order to assassinate Trump. This is a big story that the only reason it's coming out is because whistleblowers are nervous that Trump might get elected. And so they sense that stuff may be coming out. And this guy's going to be their bread and butter for the next 4 years if he beats Kamala, and they're not sure that they think he might. So the whistleblowers are coming in. Now the stories are beginning to leak out. And one of the stories is that that they've known for months that Iran, Pakistan, and other Middle East countries have been coming through the border in order to set up assassination attempts on Trump and other figures, but primarily Trump. Now, here's the point. Did you remember that there were requests made by the Trump team for additional security that was denied them? Do you see the problem that they're going to have? For those of you that are still late at night, and you'll hear this in the morning, some of you are still waking up drinking your coffee. Let me put the piece together. The Department of Justice and the intelligence services are now having whistleblowers and pressure and stories coming out about they knew about assassination attempts for months now that were in the United States that were targeting Trump. However, in other stories, we find out that the president repeatedly had requested that this President Trump requested there be additional security. It was denied when he was standing outside of those jury pools out in New York, speaking to people. All those windows are there were potential assassination attempts. It's almost like, and this is the theory, that what they did was they relaxed the perimeter of protection around him, creating the opportunity, if it existed, to go ahead and do what they did. The reason I say that is because why would you know that Trump had an assassination, had people in the United States? They can name them. They arrested them, Asif Marchand from Pakistan. How could you be tracking someone, following them, have advanced information, and then still deny protection? You catch the point? The stories that are coming out are in two separate sections of the New York Times, because the New York Times and their intelligence infiltration from the CIA doesn't want you putting two and two together, which is why is it we're reading stories about the danger of an Iranian attempt on Trump's life that they knew about for months and still denied Trump the extra protection? It was the first time they had, by the providence of God, they had a counter sniper. First time, although they knew for months that there was potential activity to kill him. So you remember what David did? Not a great chapter in David's life, but for you Bible slow connection here. I'm sorry if I got a slow connection. I'll talk fast, even with a slow connection outside the United States. But what David did when he wanted to kill Bathsheba's husband, he told Joab, he said, "Hey, I want you to bring the asset close to the enemy. In other words, bring Uriah, the Hittite, bring her husband up in proximity to where the battle is the fiercest, and then withdraw your protection from him." Now, you don't take him out, let them take him out, but it's going to be because you set him up by withdrawing your competence from him. This is how people are. That's how those that are in my group that are thinking this is a setup. That's how they're thinking, and with good reason. Because today another story came out. While Trump was in Carolina doing his last gig, Secret Service agent left her post to breastfeed her child. What was her husband doing there with a child that she left her post to go breastfeed? This is what you call diversity, equity, inclusion. This is the new security protocol where you're going to have you saw those incompetent women. Not that all women are this way, but the women that are being put on these duties, the people that are in charge of these, you start to look at them and say, this is the Uriah the Hittite strategy. Just go ahead. You got breastfeeding agents that are busy with their kid and their husband when they're supposed to be at, and she took off when she wasn't reporting in. She just took off and go ahead and do her breastfeeding. Why not? That's a woke priority, isn't it? Pete Buttigieg took off. So let's take a look at where this is going. Trump prayed for his continued protection, and that isn't bad enough. I just deleted a 20-minute broadcast I did. I'm glad I deleted it in a way because I shared a little bit too much. Those of you that heard it, you'll never be able to prove I said what I said because I deleted it. And but my main thing is this. Kamala Harris is a threat. She's a threat for a different reason, because she's a snap election candidate, which means the American people don't have enough time with her. We did such an extraordinary job, disproportionately, talking about Biden's incompetence and age and fumbling, bumbling, bumbling. We didn't recognize that Biden was being covered by Kamala, because Kamala and the whole team is running the White House. In other words, there's a machine that is behind Kamala Harris and Biden. That machinery was running things. He was just, unfortunately, out in front of a camera, got exposed. They knew his condition. Kamala lied about it. No one's going to hold her accountable. It's not like he suddenly got froze in a debate. This is his condition. But nobody cares. Nobody cares if she lied or not, because she's the second coming of a rock star, rock and roll, Rolling Stone, Barack Obama 2.0. This is the media's rolling her out now as being the great, can't say the great white hope, but she's the Democrat hope. So she's their solution to the Trump problem, and wisely so, because she's the perfect problem for him. Being a woman, he has to be careful about talking about the fact that she's in any way, he could imply that he's being sexist. The fact he's got to get off the fact that she's Jamaican and claims that she's African American, because he doesn't win. It just sounds like you're picking on a race issue. They're going to turn it around and make him racist Trump no matter what he does. He can't win for losing, as you say in New York. He can't go talking about her word salad, she can't talk until she gets her papers in front of her. But she did a great job with Pence because she had her script ready. She is a courtroom scripted person. It's kind of like an actor. You put the script in front of them and they can read the script better than, Biden couldn't read a teleprompter. He didn't know when to stop reading the teleprompter. Okay, stop talking. And he'd read them. Stop talking. She'll do fine because they'll tell her what to say. So you've got to go after her on her. She is left of Bernie Sanders. She's a San Francisco progressive Marxist. She's a Marxist. Her father was a Marxist professor. How the heck did we end up with these, from Obama to her, these Marxist parents? And you don't think they're raising their kids around the dinner table, to think a certain way? So anyway, so she is the left wing wacko that destroyed San Francisco. And her and Gavin Newsom did a great job out there. If it wasn't for the tech companies and the money that comes in from Silicon Valley, California would be sawed off and left in the ocean for its debt, for its crime, and for its dilapidated school systems. Be that as it may, I want to come around to something. Trump has to focus on exposing the policy. He has to talk about how she has no economic vision for the future. The only thing she can do is copy him. He says he's not going to tax your tips. She says, I'm not going to tax your tips. The problem is the American people are what Rush Limbaugh called low information voters. You know what that means? That means that they don't know anything. They don't know. I mean, they don't know what you do. This is going to be, wisdom is a two-edged sword, my friend. The more information you have, the more you're going to have self-control during the next period of history in America. Because what you know and what I know is that the average American doesn't realize she's stealing Trump's policies. If he says drill, baby, drill, she'll say drill, baby, drill, and they'll all cheer. like like they're all like zombies, not knowing it's Trump has that policy. She'll actually come up and probably say, "Make America great again," and I'll cheer for it. And so Trump has got to nail her for her policies and draw a quick contrast between the future she's going to create for America and the future he's going to create. And it's going to be a battle of inches. And it's not a shoe-in at all. There is no red wave, I guarantee that. Slow connection. I hate this. I hate this slow connection. You think with my company the size it is, I ought to be able to figure out how to have an internet connection. Probably need an Ethernet or something like that. I'll try again tomorrow if this doesn't work. I got something else I got to tell you. I'm going to the Middle East. I've been invited down there during the feast days to speak to all the nations that come in. And you say, Lance, why would you go to the Middle East when there's war erupting and there's potential war? Because I really believe there's an 80% possibility. It's good odds that Iran does not really want to pick a fight with Israel. They talk like they do, but they really don't. Because they don't want to be interrupted on their acquisition of a nuclear bomb, and they know that Israel could target them and disrupt it. They want to get that bomb. They want to use that bomb. Probably not on Israel, probably on the United States, I can tell you. But we gave them $1 billion. Biden and Obama made sure they got the money so they could fund Hezbollah and Hamas to attack Israel, dragging us over there. But here's the part I want you to catch. The Israelis, have already let them know that they have a major vulnerability in Iran. They got one source of income. It's the petroleum industry. That's their refiners. If anybody blows up their refinery, you brought them to their knees. They're already on their knees as it is economically. Not a popular regime. They're a clerical political regime, very unpopular with the people. I hear there's always stories about the revival going on in Iran. I don't want to see war there, but I'm thinking there's a lot of great Christians that are over there. So remember that. Some of the worst countries have the greatest Christians. So you don't want to see. You can't just globally be like, America needs to take them out. No, you don't want to take them out. You want to take out the evil regime. But we're living in the end times, and you have to factor in a whole different game plan. The reality is that Israel could wipe out their refinery, and therefore Iran doesn't want to push the buttons. So all this talk you hear about this, the reason why I give them 20%, the reason why I give them a 20% possibility they'll go to war is because they have the Houthis fighting in Yemen and Hezbollah in the north, and then Hamas. I really don't think they got that much pressure they could put on Israel totally. Keep Turkey the heck out of there. That's the problem. You don't want to see Turkey get involved. But you see, Iran doesn't want to risk the refinery getting blown up or the nuclear program getting interrupted. They don't want to risk having an economic collapse because who's going to bail them out? Russia? Here's the problem. They also know if Trump goes in, the more likelihood is if Trump goes in, they got a real problem because Trump, especially if Trump gets the idea that they sent an assassin to come after him. I mean, if he took out Soleimani, he's in their head right now going, oh my God, if he thinks that we're trying to kill him, Trump, in their mind, the guy's pathological, which is good. It works to his advantage, actually. You always want your enemy to think you're a little crazy. Nixon said that. Always leave a little room for I'm losing my mind here. Don't push me. Um, but here's the reality. They're worried if Trump goes in, they better shoot now. They better fight now. In other words, if they got a time to do it, they got to do it while Trump's out of office. Because if Trump goes in, he'll bring them down. So that's the only problem we got. Slow connection. What does that mean if I got a slow connection? I can't talk any faster. It freezes. So if I freeze, stay with me. I'll keep talking. All right. So you guys following me? They were not giving Trump the assassination protection, but they knew he had assassins. What does it tell you? Then they got this goofball DEI woke government hiring on the Secret Service. You think that after they got their butts dragged up there in front of Congress, in front of the world, be humiliated, the lady lost her job justifiably for not coming clean on their incompetence. You think that they would be fixing this. Well, I think they are, but I think that you got to understand how woke is a virus, and once it's in the system, it's hard to get rid of it. All right. So anyway, I'm talking about the Trump assassination coverage, the Secret Service. The other thing I want you to catch: do not lose this story. There's an organization that knocked out Breitbart, Western Journal, literally destroyed half a dozen conservative companies, Christian organizations. They were taken out by the left. You know what they do? They would boycott them. They would go to all the people that buy, and they would say, if you buy from them, we're not, they went after Daily Wire. They went after Rumble. They made a mistake. They went after Elon Musk and Twitter. And it's a group called the Global, what is it, GARM, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media. I love how the devil labels stuff. It's like Professor Papsmear from Naked Gun. The names. The Global Alliance for Responsible Media. Yeah, that's a good name there, Charlie. Let's do that. Then what we're going to do is we're gonna go to all the people that buy advertising on Christian and conservative news networks, and we're going to tell them that we're going to crush them. We're going to go meet with them and show them every title we can find that sounds a little off, and then we're going to say these are racists, these are homophobes, these are you better not be. Is this what you're doing with your money? No, we're not doing that with our money. And so they pull their advertising. Well, they jury rigged algorithms to make it look like Twitter was a failing proposition because Elon Musk pulled it out of remember the CIA and the intelligence community had connections on Twitter. I mean, people forget about this. We memory hole it. The intelligence services actually were using Twitter as a platform to create trending topics about Trump this, Trump that, about the laptop, about Russia collusion. They were using Twitter as a machine. And then Elon Musk buys it and says, no, the heck you do that. And then he fires a bunch of woke pajama, people that are like suppressed, like the kind of ones that are after me all the time. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. Lance, you're going to get flagged. Lance, you're going to get flagged. Everybody's telling me you're going to get flagged. You're going to get flagged. I should have the flags of the nations behind me the way I'm getting flagged all the time. So anyway, Twitter. They decided they were going to take Twitter out. Big mistake. You could knock down Breitbart, you could knock down Daily Wire. But before Rumble got any legs on it, you could knock it down. But when you went after Musk, I'll tell you what, Tony Stark there said, the way I play poker, I put all my chips into the middle. So he moved all his resources right in and told his lawyers, I think they messed with the wrong guy. I've got algorithmic proof. I've got timestamp data. I can go back to what they're posting about me, going back 30 days and show the timestamp of how they're rigging and manipulating data in order to make me look like I'm losing advertising revenue, in order to make me look like I'm a bad investment, in order to try to destroy my company. Folks, Jim Jordan in Washington joined up. All you got to do is have one good guy. You don't know these stories. So I'm telling you right now. I want you to listen to me. GARM, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, made up of 20 global giants of advertising. They had to shut their operation down because Musk drew a dot on the forehead. And he said, I'm coming after you to destroy you. So they had to take their operation apart. Now, what are they going to do with it? Probably create another one. But let's celebrate for a moment the fact that they don't always win. And the way that you got it then with Zuckerberg, and I believe this is genuine, when he saw Trump with his fist bump up there, he kind of said to himself, I took Trump off. I took Twitter and Facebook, controlled by leftists and the U.S. State Department people, the intelligence services. They're all in bed with each other. Blinken actually has contracts with Google. The CIA people go to Google to work when they retire. It's an incestuous community. Government goes to Google for the department. They have a contract with the Department of Defense. Google's got to come down. That'll be good for my Google ratings right there. They messed with Elon. Elon took him down. Zuckerberg says, "Hey, I'm not going to meddle. Well, we'll see." His Zuckerbucks, and I'm on Facebook. I like Facebook. Facebook's been very good to me. But I'm going to tell you something. We don't need Silicon Valley tech billionaires to get into manipulating algorithms as Google does. We need you guys to be free and fair. Now, the mistake my people made, and I saw it when it happened, we did not get a dozen billionaires, multimillionaires connected to media, entertainment, celebrity status, should have been big broadcasters. They should have gone up to meet with Zuckerberg after he was met with by the Democracy Alliance, Media Matters, David Brock, and those guys, who showed him all the manipulated headlines to get Facebook to start to put the squeeze and put Western Journal and Breitbart out of commission. They did. They took 1 billion views off of these guys. What we should have done is we should have gone immediately back and said, by the way, let me show you the Daily Beast, Rolling Stone. Let's give you the headlines and the media coverage of what the leftist does, of what these people are. These are so okay, here's the Atlantic, here's the New York Times, here's let's cover what they do, and let's show you on balance how both sides are in an ideological battle. Do not pick a side. Stay on the side of capitalism. You make a living. If you don't, then we will coordinate a purposeful campaign to come at you politically in order to get you out of the rigging politics game. So we didn't do that. But thank God Zuckerberg's come to that conclusion anyway. He doesn't want to be involved with it. Doesn't have to be involved with it. I mean, why lose the money off of a Breitbart advertising? This is what's crazy. These are educated people. If you got 1 million people reading Epic Times or 1 million people reading Breitbart, why not be marketing to that audience? Why shoot yourself in the foot and lose revenue not marketing to them? See, the left doesn't care about these clients that they go after to get them to pull off their advertising. They just care about silencing their opposition. But then you know what happens? CNN goes down. All these companies, they start losing viewers. They start having to close down. You start seeing it too. You start seeing these journals going under. You know why? Because nobody's reading that journalism. And instead of staying out of rigging who can hear and who can't have an opinion in America, the left always wants to silence you, and they always want to ramp up their own voice. They're not really for freedom of speech. They're for freedom of their own opinion. All right, I got something else I got to talk about. You won't hear this in other places. That's why I got to talk to you about it. Viktor Orban delivers this. This is the Hungary. This is the prime minister of Hungary. I think he's president of NATO for a period of time. They can cycle around, right? So Viktor Orban has what I would call is one of the sovereign nations of Europe. He's always vilified with Trump. It's always Viktor Orban, the despot. That's when you know there's a good guy. But he just delivered a great speech. He said, once every 500 years, history recycles itself, resets itself, and does something phenomenal, and you might miss it. He said the defining moment for the West is we're all thinking we control what's going on in the world. But in terms of the population of the globe, we only have 20% of the population interested in supporting the Ukraine war with Russia. 70%, 75% of the world, India, China, Indonesia, the entire Asia Pacific Rim, Africa, South America, they're not interested in this war in Europe with Ukraine and Russia. Basically, the whole world is on a different axis than the West. The West is in decline. You can see it in the Olympics opening. When you got to have transgender, a queer Jesus doing the Last Supper, when you got that kind of decadence parading blasphemously in the face of Muslims and Christians, 2 billion people, 3 billion people in the world, just in those two religions. And you could care less because the elites want to rub it in your face. They've got the right to show you the world that they believe. Well, the West is in just a rapid decline. They're not really. You don't hear it because all you do is narcissistically. I'm sorry, we're self-absorbed. So we only hear what we hear about us. We don't realize this. Viktor Orban delivered the message. He said, the West needs to know China is now the global superpower that's on the rise. The Asian axis, those India and China are going to be in Asia, and that part of the world, they are the 2 billion people consumer market behemoth. The overspending of the West, the debt of the West, the wars of the West, the cultural deterioration of the West is setting its own sun, and now the sun is rising in the east, and it will be China, India, and the Asia Pacific Rim, the nations we're going to be looking at that are already merging in power. It's not what you want to hear, right? But you're never going to hear it anywhere else. So I'm telling it to you. Now, it doesn't have to be that way, but I'm saying there's a price we're paying. There's a price we're paying for our disengagement from culture. There's a price we're paying for the destruction of the family, the destruction of religion, the loss of the fear of God, the loss of biblical absolutes. We are in that fourth turning. We talk about. I watched this guy did the interview with David Patrick. What's his name? The Iranian guy. You guys know who he is on YouTube. Got Valuetainment. David Patrick whatever his name is. I like him. He was talking to Neil Howe, who's the one surviving author of The Fourth Turning, Harvard researcher. And fourth turning is like every 80 to 100 years in the United States, a country like ours goes through a convulsion of redefinition. We went through it in our first revolution. We went through it in our Civil War. We went through it in our Second World War, World War II, and the Great Depression. And we're in that cycle right now. And they wrote about this in 1900. They predicted 2023 through to 7 years, 2030 is going to be the defining period of the West and America itself. And he's kind of confident that we're going to see the pendulum swing back to a desire for conserving values and conserving life and conserving, kind of like moving away from the crazy and the radical more towards a conserving or conservative worldview. But in the meantime, you've got the left in its ascendancy. The snap election that happened in France, what happened in Great Britain, what happened in Brazil, and what's happening with other countries, in Venezuela rather, tells us that the axis of nations is not moving towards a populist nationalist recovering of principles and values. We still don't have that great awakening in its full punch, that is the spiritual vitality of a message that is merging with the civic movement, the social movements, the artistic movements. We haven't yet had that Jesus movement that creates a revolution that affects the political and the social sphere. I think it's coming, but who knows how much pain has to happen to precipitate that. But till we do, the snap election is what bothers me. Kamala Harris pops up in the scene. We put so much energy into making Joe Biden look feeble and incompetent that we succeeded in pulling him out prematurely, I'd say. We should have left him be the Democrat candidate and let him go find Kamala, a month from now. Instead, they're able to give her the artificial coronation that media in Hollywood do, like she's Cinderella just discovered the magic slipper, the ball. So now she's like, their goddess, and they're going to make her look like that. And the snap election problem is that they can ride that phenomena of the mystique, the witchcraft, and the confusion of who she is right into the Oval Office, unless there's a disruptive event. We have to pray that God intervenes. Something disruptive has to interrupt the momentum of that. And it could be that all that it will take is for her to just make one mistake, and that mistake is already revealed. She picked, Tim Walz, the governor of Wisconsin, instead of the senator in Arizona, or the governor in Pennsylvania, Shapiro. Either one of those would have been a smarter and shrewder pick. She picked someone as radical and as nutty as she is. And it shows that she wasn't listening to 100% to her advisors that are from the Obama campaign. She's listening to her Bernie Sanders radical, whoever got her ear at the cocktail party. And that's a good sign. It shows that she listens to bad advice. And so when David was up against Absalom, he realized that he could lose the kingdom, he could lose everything. When he had an advisor, he was up against named Ahithophel. It's a little detail in the Old Testament. But David knew that if the consultant working with his son was Ahithophel, he's cooked. Because Ahithophel he never missed as a political consultant. So he prayed that God would cause the counsel of Ahithophel to fail. David's prayer was that there would be a disruption of the source of shrewd counsel. And I believe the fact that Kamala picked Walz as her running mate shows that she's got a capacity for hearing the wrong counsel. And let her ego and let her team and let all this fanfare and celebration build in her a sense of invulnerable superiority and smug, supremacy over the. I'll show you how it's done. Let that pride be there, because I think it'll cause her to incline to listen to the wrong counsel. And that's what has to happen. She needs to double down on a couple of policy initiatives that are anathema to the American people. And just like with the left, it did with its Hamas riots and calling for the extermination of Jews. Let her make the error of a statement, a position, in the passion and the heat of the next 70 days of speaking extemporaneously. May she make commitments that she believes are vertically successful in aligning her base with her, but are actually disastrous in alignment with America. And this was what happened when McGovern ran. And who was he running with? Mondale and McGovern? Oh no, it was Mondale and Geraldine. It was Dukakis and Geraldine Ferraro, whatever her name was, and it was Mondale and who was McGovern running with? Anybody remember that? But anyways, the left every now and then puts together some wacky tickets, and they've done it once or twice, and both times they get shellacked because they get out of step with the American people. Does that make sense? All right, so. What do you? So people are asking me, what do you think is coming? Well, what I think is coming is the increased pressure on the de-dollarization is what you got to do, regardless of what happens. Instabilities in the forecast. I mean, I can't imagine this election being decided even with the election. Pennsylvania's already said, well, it's going to take a day or two to sort it out because that means they got to get all the fake votes from Philadelphia bust in. So that's just why Shapiro would have been a smart pick as a Jewish pick, but the Democrats wouldn't pick a Jew because they're already worried about losing the Arab votes. So I want you to go to I know what I was going to tell you. I'm taking this metabolism support probiotic while I'm on my little 1 week getaway here in Annabelle, and she and I are both taking it. Regenerative, organic, certified, and what it does is it resets and keeps your metabolism at the peak of probiotic healthy gut health and burning up calories and fat and keeping you like running regular on stuff. So when I'm traveling around the world and doing what I do, I want you guys to go to ancientnutrition.com/Lance. So I tell you, it's on the table here with me here. So I'm talking to you. I'm thinking about, let me see that. Remember that. Ancientnutrition.com/Lance, because that metabolism support probiotic is one of the I can't always get liquids on these flights, so I have to bring these pills with me. I'm going to talk to you again tomorrow because I got one more thing I got to talk to you about, which is the attack from Christianity Today against Christians. Russell Moore, I had Roger Moore's name written down. I knew that wasn't right. He played James Bond. It's Russell Moore. He's a nut job. Him and David French. And sorry to say, Tim Keller was part of this. He's gone now, but he's been outed. And these guys that David Brooks writes in the New York Times. These guys are the Soros-aligned left-wing liberal infiltrators of the Christian community that I'm sorry to say have wormed their way into the head of a lot of the people that you listen to, that you read their posts and you read what they publish. So I'm always reading their journals, and they won't come out and tell you, but they're against Trump. They're against. They think that we're wacky. They sided against the term Christian nationalist when the devil used it against people like me. They said, "Yay!" because they're politically decaffeinated, and a lot of these guys you won't hear them have an opinion. I mean, some of these apostolic networks, I'm going to check them out because I think they're all part of this collusion. It's a collusion of silence. It's like silence. Let me tell you something. Silence equals consent. I'm reading my buddy Bill Federer here. Bill Federer's got a book here, Silence Equals Consent, The Sin of Omission. If you're not talking about what's going on in America, if you're not talking, you may not talk the way I do, fine. Talk the way you do, but don't just talk about we need a revival, we need to repent, we need reformation. Yeah, Mickey Mouse knows that. I want you to call out what the left is doing specifically. Who's doing it? And who are the fake Christians that are out there? Who are the people that are calling? And they're probably real Christians, probably sincere and sincerely deceived, and it's time they got called out. David Brooks, David French, Russell Moore. Call them out. Anyway, I'm going to get into that a little bit tomorrow. I don't want to lose any of you guys. It's late at night. I know. Thanks for being with me. It's 1:45, 20 midnight. Those of you that are hearing this in the daytime, I want you to face the day with the confidence that God has already gone before you. The Holy Ghost is on the inside of you. Put Jesus at the center of your thoughts. I spent an hour today reading Colossians. I read it in like 2 or 3 translations. I was just hanging out with Jesus. And the funny thing is, once I read Colossians, I had clarity on a bunch of other stuff. I wasn't even talking to the Lord about, but also when I left the subject of the Bible, everything fell in place. renewing your mind by the word of God. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, and you'll find your way of success is going to be automatic. I love you all. I'm praying for you. I've got one more day here with Annabelle. Won't tell you where, but she doesn't want me to tell you. It's a secret, right? Right. Okay. Keep my wife happy. But we'll be back in America within 48 hours. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Don't forget, ancientnutrition.com/Lance. I just took this before I did the broadcast. All right.